Hey cousins, welcome back to the channel. It is Mindset Monday, and I'm your girl Chrissy Pips. Now, in today's video, we'll be tackling chapter 5 of our book, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Now, this chapter is titled The Dynamics of Perception. Now, today, in this chapter, Mark is going to help us change our perception of market information so that none of it can be perceived as threatening or anything like that to us, because we all know how we feel when we're threatened or scared of something. So this is going to allow us to see things as opportunities instead of challenges and obstacles in our way of profit. So please don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the content in this video. Comment below and let me know what you think. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on what's next. And share on social media if you think others can benefit from this information. But as always, if you're here, you're interested, so let's get into it. Now, let's start out by getting the bugs out of our mental software, okay? A few simple changes can make a big difference in our trading results. Trading is a process. It starts with us perceiving an opportunity. After all, if we didn't think that there were opportunities in trading, why would we pursue trading in the first place, right? So let's answer 3 questions about perception, okay? So the first is going to be, what are the underlying dynamics of perception? Now, the information about any given thing's properties, characteristics, or traits are what makes things uniquely what they are. And this is what contributes to perception of anything. Its characteristics, properties, traits. That's what gives us the notion of what we perceive it to be, right? Now, the second question is, what factors determine how we perceive information or what we perceive in relationship to what's available? That one is a bit tricky. Now, the short answer to it is information that has the potential to act as a force or influence on one of our 5 physical senses helps us to determine how we perceive information. So for me personally, I do believe that our sense of awareness contributes also, so it would be our 6th sense. But that's just me personally, okay? Now, our third question is, how is perception connected with the experiences at any given moment that we've had? Now, the book uses an example to answer this for us. The book uses a rock, okay? Rock. And when you think of a rock, it has texture. It has textures that act like a force on our sense of touch, right? If we run our fingers across it, we're going to feel something, right? Now, a rock has a shape and color, which acts as a force on our vision. A rock takes up space so that no other object can occupy that space, or so that we see the rock instead of an empty space or a different object. And then a rock can have an odor that acts on our sense of smell, and it can have a taste. But Mark said that he hasn't had the opportunity to taste a rock yet. So we'll leave that at that. But whatever we are seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling through our senses gets transmitted into electrical impulses of energy, and it gets stored in our mental environment as a memory, okay? Now, our memories of past experiences help to contribute to our perception of new things and new experiences, right? Okay, so now that we've answered those 3 questions, let's talk about the relationship between perception and learning, okay? So memories, distinctions, and beliefs are all energy. Anything that is energy has the potential to express its form, and that it's exactly what our memories, our distinctions, and our beliefs do. They do the same thing. We express form, or we give something our perceived or perception of what it is, okay? Now, at any time the environment is generating a huge amount of information, that is, let's say, the properties, characteristics, and traits of a thing. So some of the information is beyond our range of senses, okay? And what I mean by that, like to help you get a better understanding, is if you think about it like this, okay? Our eyes cannot see every wavelength of light, okay? Our ears cannot hear every frequency of sound. So that means that there are definitely some things that are out of range of information. Like for us, it's beyond our capability of our senses. So what about the rest of the information in the environment? Like, what about everything else that's being generated about itself? We don't see, hear, taste, smell, or feel through our senses every possible distinction, trait, or characteristic, like based on our senses, right? We can't, because we've not experienced everything in order to, like, we haven't encountered everything in order to be able to experience everything, okay? Now, the energy that's inside of us will limit and block our awareness of most of the information by working through the same sensory mechanism that the external environment works through. There are a bunch of ways that the external environment can express itself that we can't perceive because we haven't learned about every particular way the environment is capable of expressing itself. It's so much out there that we just don't know, you know? So think about it like this. As it relates to trading, the first time we looked at a chart, we didn't know what any of those lines or colors or numbers meant because we hadn't learned about them yet. Now, Douglas says that in the beginning, the charts were just undifferentiated information, and that's how we perceived it, right? And undifferentiated information usually creates a state of confusion, and that we probably came across very confused to whoever was showing us those charts the first time we looked at them, right? Which is very correct. It's like an absolutely correct assumption. Now, think about looking at the charts now. After we took some time to learn about the charts and the markets, and we began to understand more of the characteristics, traits, and behavior patterns that were being shown to us on the charts, our perception has changed after we learned more about the topic of trading, right? So instead of a bunch of undifferentiated lines, undifferentiated? I think I said it right. I hope I did. Instead of a bunch of undifferentiated lines, we see everything we've learned about, like as far as what the lines mean and what the colors mean, what everything on our charts mean between now and then, right? It's a significant difference in what we perceive as information now as opposed to what we perceived as information when we first were introduced to the charts, okay? Everything we can see as we look at the chart now existed then too, but it was available to us to perceive, but we couldn't because we didn't know what it was, okay? So what's the difference? Well, the structured energy that's inside of us now is different than it was the first time we saw a chart. The knowledge that we have gained acts as a force on our eyes, causing us to recognize various distinctions that we've learned about over time as it relates to the market. Now, since that energy wasn't there the first time we looked at the chart, all of the opportunities that we see now were there, but at the same time, they were invisible to us back then because we hadn't learned about them yet. So unless we've learned to make every possible distinction based on every possible relationship between all variables in a chart, there are still going to be things that are invisible to us. We just haven't encountered them yet to be able to identify them. So they will only reveal themselves to us over time as we learn more, right? So most of us have no concept of the extent to which we are continually surrounded by invisible opportunities inherent to the information that we're exposed to, right? So more often than not, we never learn about these opportunities. As a result, they remain invisible, okay? Now, we learn about things through our experiences, and there are some experiences that we will never have, which creates a particular closed loop, like a perceptual closed loop, okay? Douglas says that instead of saying people see what they want to see, he says people see what they have learned to see, which is a big difference, a big distinction between the two, okay? Because you, like we were saying earlier, you only see the things that you've encountered and had the opportunity to interact with. You only see what you can like create your own mind's perception off of, based off of your experiences. Okay, so this gets deep, y'all. Now let's talk about the correlation between perception and risk. Okay, let's say that we put on one too many bad trades, and our perception of risk is different now as a result of what we just covered, right? It's different than a person who put on several good trades in a row, okay? So we'll keep that comparison for a while. Now, let's say that we both put on a new trade on the same pair, the same time frame, the same broker, the same everything, right? Our perception of risk would be much different than the other traders based on our past experiences and encounters with the market, okay? Now, the trader who has had the good experience would say that our fears are unfounded because what's going on now has nothing to do with what happened in the past. Well, the trader who has had a good experience is living in the now, while we are stuck living in the past, bringing that same past experience to the present. And that's affecting our current judgment as a result. Now, in the present, the trade has nothing to do with our last trade, okay? This trade is statistically independent of every other trade that we would put on. Now, one person's perception of risk can easily be perceived as irrational thinking by another person. Risk is relative, okay? If we look at fear as a natural mechanism warning us of threatening conditions, then what is it about the way that our minds function that will automatically tell us that the next trade is something to be afraid of? Why does our mind work that way? Especially knowing that our mind seems to have unlimited capability and capacity for learning. Why would it do that? Why can't we go into the next trade with an open mind? What's stopping us? So that brings us to the last part of today's video. And as I say, it's the last part, but it's not short. This was a deep chapter, y'all. Okay? This is the power of association. Okay? So our minds have an inherent design characteristic that causes us to associate and link anything that exists in the external environment that's similar in quality characteristics, properties, or traits to anything that already exists in our mental environment as a memory or distinction. Now, in the example of us being scared during our next trade, the next trade or anything entered after that does not have to be on the same time frame or even be the same pair that we traded when we lost in order for us to experience emotional pain or fear. Now, there just has to be enough likeness or similarity for our mind to make a connection between what happened in the past and what's about to happen. So it doesn't have to put together each individual minute detail, but it'll lump it together. You traded in the past, you got hurt as a result of the trade, you experienced just some type of strong negative emotion as a result of trading in the past. So, oh my goodness, you're about to trade again. Let me remind you of that strong negative emotional pain that you experienced before. Let me help you put the two together. And we don't know exactly why our brains do that, but knowing that our brains act that way is very helpful my mentor says, like, we have to remember to take the emotion out of trading. And this is definitely one of the primary reasons why there is no emotion involved in trading. Now, naturally, our minds unconsciously make these associations. So it's not something that we like consciously like go grab from the back of our storage house, you know? But our mind makes these associations just as we don't have to like consciously think about making our hearts beat. We don't have to think about linking experiences and our feelings about those experiences. We don't have to do that. It just happens. It's a natural function of the way that our minds process information. It's like our autopilot has gone like AWOL, you know, like come back, help, you know. But our structured outside energy, which is the new thing that we're about to experience, and our structured inside energy, which are the things that we've already experienced in the past, are in a bit of an imbalance, okay? The inside energy is a negative memory from the past. The market conditions are in line with our trading strategy, though. So there's a very high probability for success if we enter this trade. But like, because positive outcome has not yet been our experience, or it hasn't been our experience in quite a while, at this time, positive outcome doesn't exist for us. Okay, now, unless we go into a trade in a state of mind that's conducive to learning, our minds are gonna like project things from our past into our current situation if they show enough similarity. Now, scientists don't know exactly how much of a similarity two things need to have in order to be linked by our minds, but this is what our brain does to us in an instant, okay? So, do the two situations feel the same? Well, it's extremely hard and unlikely that we're able to differentiate between the bad experience in the past and the new good experience that could potentially happen. So, how do we stop our minds from linking things like this? Well, as a trader, our job is to perceive the available opportunities in the market, right? Not the threat of pain. So, to stay focused on the opportunities, we first need to identify the source of the threat. And the threat is not the market. The market is neutral. So if what we perceive at any given moment causes us to feel fear, we must ask ourselves, is the information inherently threatening? Or are we experiencing the effect of our own state of mind reflected back at us? Okay? We have to remember that the market is neutral, and the only way that a negative or positive emotion can be attached to it is by us. Now, the reason why we aren't consistently successful traders is because of the way we think and understand, right? Now, understanding and really getting a good grasp on this feeling and this ability for our brains to link is extremely helpful to us as far as overcoming the issue goes. Developing and maintaining a state of mind that perceives the opportunity flow in the market without a threat of pain is like our end game. That's our goal. Okay. Now, this particular chapter, like I said, it was kind of deep. I tried to get through it kind of fast because this was a lot of information, but hopefully it helps. So if, like, as a new trader or even as a seasoned trader, you are now able to, like, after going through this video, see some of the things that you've experienced and understand a bit more why you're experiencing these things, these feelings. Let me know in the comments below. This chapter helped me so much. Now when I get into a trade, if I feel some sort of negative or even positive emotion, I'm cognizant to it so I can stop and reset everything to take the emotion out of the trade and then have like an objective or subjective look at the information that's in front of me. So then I can make an informed decision based on that information and not based on how I feel. Okay, so it was definitely helpful for me. Let me know in the comments below if it was helpful for you. And please don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the content in this video. Comment below and let me know what you guys think of the channel, the books that we're doing. Let me know if you have any suggestions for the next book that we're going to do. Subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on what's next. And share on social media if you think others can gain some value from my content. But as always, right? I want you guys to have an awesome and productive day, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, and if you follow me on Instagram, then you already heard the announcement. Today, there will be a Facebook Live at 8 p.m. Eastern. So hop over there. I'm Chrissy Pips everywhere, okay? Just every social media site, just search Chrissy Pips and I'll pop up. But I'll leave a little link in the description below for the Facebook and for my Instagram if you guys want to follow me over there, okay? I'll see you guys later. Have an awesome and productive day. Bye.